So yesterday I put out a video about how to figure out how much a house is worth. And now I realize after looking at the video, I realized that I totally understood the video. But I could see where someone who is brand new, who was expecting to figure out how to figure out the worth of a property from that video. If someone on YouTube found that video and they wanted to, and they were searching, how to value a property, that video wouldn't really help that person. The video that I put out yesterday was really a video looking at everything, looking at the worth of a house as really obsolete when you do investing in real estate like I do it. I call the way I invest in real estate the Warren Buffett method. If Warren Buffett was a person who was an investor in real estate, I believe he would invest the way I invest. So I'm a big fan of Warren Buffett. I try to invest like he does. I listen to everything he says in his interviews and speeches that he does online. And I really like how he invests. He invests in a different way than how everyone else in the crowd invests. He does it quietly, it's boring, but he looks for absolute value. And I do the same thing. I realize after years and years of knowing who Warren Buffett is, I realized that me and him invest the same way, really. I don't like looking for properties that don't have like a big delta. That's why when you're trying to value property, I don't really do all that fine tuning when it comes to valuing property. Like I don't get so detailed with a property. Like for instance here, so you have a house here and you're trying to figure out the value of this property. Some people online, some gurus online, or investors online that you see on YouTube, the really popular ones, they will tell you that you need to find three other properties to compare this property to, and you need to compare what these three properties have that yours does not. So, um, and then sometimes investors will tell you that you need to, oh man, it's like really detailed. It's like, going through and, trying to figure out how much a new roof will cost, trying to figure out how much it will cost to redo plumbing, electrical, and how much it will cost to put the flooring in, um, and put sheetrock in it, and the renovation process. So you're trying to go through and figure out, the prices of all these things, and that works when you're in a neighborhood where the spread between what the seller wants and what you can sell the house for in tip top shape, when that spread is too close, then you have to go through and kind of itemize what all the house needs to try to figure out how much you can offer. Or like I'm saying, like this in this scenario, sometimes the sellers, they will just have a price, and sometimes investors want to make that price work. It's kind of close. Maybe there's a 50,000 or $40,000 spread right there between what it will sell for and what the seller wants for the house. Low spreads, man. That is the problem. So low spreads. This is what makes you go through and try to figure out every little piece of the house and what it will cost, and then you try to figure out what it's worth. Um, that's for low spreads, man. Oh, I forgot the R there. Now, for big spreads, well, I should say not low spreads, small spreads. Now, big spreads, all trying to figure out what what your subject house is, the house that you're trying to value, trying to figure out what this house lacks compared to the comparable houses. When you got a big spread, all that stuff doesn't really matter. That's what I was trying to say in my previous video. You don't need to try to figure out, what your subject house is missing from the comparables to try to figure out a price for it. As long as you can look in the neighborhood, like I said in that video, if you go to Zillow and you look at their neighborhood tool, where you can see, it's the box that has it has a picture, a bird's eye view of the neighborhood. And there's houses here in rows usually. And some of them have prices attached to them and they're in yellow. And that signifies that a house is sold, and it lets you know how much it's sold for. So all these houses in black here, they have just recently sold. This is your subject property. And some of the houses will be in red, which means that they are for sale. And some of them, most of them won't have any colors. They're not for sale. They're off market. But just getting an average of what these houses, and another thing that you need to keep in mind, all these houses need to be like kind houses. Okay, they need to be similar in age. So that's year built, age. What else? Configuration. They need to look the same. They need to look almost the same. Wow, I'm really knocking it out the park with this spelling, huh? They need to look the same. The age range needs to be, similar. So when you are valuing property, all of this is assumed. Like kind. So they need to look kind of identical and similar in age. But when you're going through the Zillow tool here, when you're going through this tool on Zillow, this neighborhood view, all you need to do is figure out. You can really go by this estimate most of the time. You can do that if you want a like quick view of what your subject property could be worth. But I would recommend that you look at the neighborhood tool so you can look and see. All you need to do is figure out the bed and bath counts. That's another thing that needs to be the same. Bed and bath count. They need to be the same as well. So age, they need to look the same, and the bed and bath count. So if it's a 3-bed, 2-bath, your subject property is a 3-bed, 2-bath, then the other properties here in this neighborhood tool for Zillow, you need to be looking at 3-bed, 2-baths. And some of this information most of the information on, well, I'll say some of the information on Zillow is not that accurate. But if you look at these sold properties, they're usually sold most likely by a real estate agency. And the real estate agency, they don't have to put the exact bed and bath count on Zillow. They usually do. They have to do it on the MLS. But you just have to take what you can work with. You know what I'm saying? You have to use what you can work with, because getting access to the MLS means that you have to have a real estate agent on your team. That's good to have. I'm not saying that's not good to have. That is good to have, because you get more accurate information from the MLS. But on Zillow, man, I mean, Zillow has enough information there that you can work with. So the bed and bath count has to be the same when you're looking at the comparables. But once you do find these comparables that have the same bed and bath count, the same age, because usually if they're in the same neighborhood, the ages of the houses are similar. They're almost the same. Maybe there's a delta of 5 years there between year built age. But once you do find these comparables and they look the same and are in the same year built age and have the same bed and bath count, those are your comparables. And then you look at them and you don't need to look and see if they have swimming pools or whether or not they have whatever, open floor concepts and all that. there will be a price range here. There will be an average here. So this house here may be worth 150. It's sold for 150. This house probably sold for 175K. And then this one right here probably sold for 250K. Maybe it was a flipper that bought this house and gave it the works, and it sold for a big price like that. But see, you take these and you look at them, and look, they're all, they're not close. I mean, they're relatively close in price, but they're all different. You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Like 150, 175, 250, they're different. But what you can say is that the 150, 175 a price range is more likely what the houses are selling for in as is condition. Maybe the 175 house has some new cabinets in there or something like that, or maybe a new kitchen, but everything else is original in the house. Maybe the $150,000 house that sold for that, maybe the house that sold for $150,000 was just all original. And see, when it's all original inside, that lets you know that this $150,000 price here is for as is conditions. So houses in this neighborhood, they will sell in as is condition for 150K. That's what you can say that, by looking at these comparables. You can say that. They'll sell for 175 if they have a new kitchen or whatever. They'll sell for 250 if they have everything in there that's brand new, like new flooring, walls, everything, light and bright. So you have a ceiling and a floor. Your ceiling is 250, and then your floor is 150. Okay. So you don't need to look so detailed at everything that these other houses have or does not have. You can just say, okay, 150,000. That is the floor. That's the floor. I can sell a house in this neighborhood. If I get one of these houses on the contract, or if I find a house and a seller wants to sell a house in this neighborhood, it can sell for 150. So I just need to get a house that's under 150. So your subject house here, maybe you find it for $100,000. Maybe the seller wants $100,000. Now, and it's in, let's see, what kind of shape is it in? Let's just say that it's in, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's in a 5 condition. It's in 5. So there's a spread of $50,000 here from your floor. Your floor is 150. There's a spread of $50,000 here. That could be doable. It could be doable to get this house in as is condition into the condition that you can get, that these houses in this neighborhood are selling for around this price. So this 50K, you can get it to, it can probably work. It can probably work. Now, if you think about selling this house and giving it the works, and not actually you buying it, but giving it to someone who will give it the works and sell it for 250, then you got a big spread here. You got a $150,000 spread. So, you have to figure out your goals with these different properties here. Trying to find someone who would sell it for $250,000. It won't be hard. It's not hard to find someone, a flipper, that would sell it for this much and give it the works. But I like to price my houses by the as is condition. That's how I like to value them. I want to know what the floor is. I want to know what's the least amount that I can sell this house for, which is 150. So 150,000, that's what I work with. I work on the $150,000. Um, but still, this is a great deal for someone. If you know a flipper um, who can give this house the works, there's a spread there of 150K. And in my case, I would like to get this house for 50K and have a spread of $100,000. Okay. But see, my whole point in this video and my previous video is when you have these big spreads like this, you want to look for great deals. Looking for just good deals with small spreads, like a 50K spread or a 40K spread or a 30K spread, depending on where you are. Looking for deals with low spreads. It makes it, you have a high probability of not being able to do anything with that house. Like if you're a wholesaler, wholesaling it, you're a bird dog or finding someone to buy it. It all depends. If you have your cash buyer pool, then you want to send these houses to that cash buyer pool and see if anyone bites. But when you have a big, huge spread, you don't really have to worry about trying to figure out how much it will cost to fix the house up. Because as a wholesaler, that's one thing that you need to know about. You need to know about how to calculate the estimated repair cost. That's one thing that you have to know about. But when you have big spreads in deals, you don't really need to know how to figure out how much the house is worth. You don't need to call contractors or send this house to your buyer pool, your cash buyer pool, and ask, these people, what do you think, how much do you think it'll cost to get this house in livable condition? You don't have to go through that list of people when you have a big, huge, nice, healthy spread in the house between what it would sell for and what the seller wants. You don't have to, it's kind of like obvious. And I think that's my point. My point is, you don't have to like create it. I heard a wholesaler say that to me one time before, a long time ago. He had me pricing a house for him. He had me looking at a house for him, and I was like, there's so many variables, when you're trying to price a house. Um, I think this method, like having a big spread, is a good rule of thumb to have, so it won't have to be so confusing. But that guy wanted me to price a house for him, and I was like, man, you could do this, and it could be worth this if this is done, or if you find this type of buyer for it. And he was like, well, man, I don't want to create a deal. I want it to be obvious. And I agree with him. I haven't spoken to that guy since then, and that's been years ago, but I agree with his statement. You don't really want to try to create a deal. You don't want to try to make the numbers work. They should be obvious. It should be an obvious deal. You know what I mean? Finding a house for $100,000, the seller wants $100,000, and the houses in this neighborhood can sell for $250,000. That is an obvious deal. That's an obvious deal. No matter what what kind of work, well, it depends. If this house needs like foundation issues, if it has foundation issues and it needs foundation work, or if it's been flooded, like if there's a lot of mold in there, so you want to also make sure that houses are not in the floodplain. um I hope I'm spelling that right. Floodplain, whatever. You want to make sure that these houses are not in an area that's prone to flooding. My spelling is crazy today. I'm thinking about something else. I was having a conversation with someone earlier about real estate, and we was talking about a lot of details, and it really has my brain drained. But you do want to to know these things. You want to make sure that the house doesn't have any foundation issues, because a house can be so dilapidated that it will eat up your spread. It will. So if a house is like disconfigured, like if the roof is detached from, the house, the main house, if the roof is detached or has been damaged or was damaged in a storm of some kind, or if the foundation is really in really bad shape, these situations, like I say all the time, when I'm pricing houses, I'm looking for livable condition houses. I'm looking for houses that are in livable condition. Okay. I want them to be, I want someone to be able to live in the house. You know what I mean? That's how I live in condition. That's how I look at properties. I'm not looking at properties that are like so dilapidated to where it'll take all your spread to get them in good shape. And then you have to renovate them as well. No, I when I look at houses, the first thing I figure out is whether or not this house is livable or not. Now, if it's not in livable condition, then I would still like to look at it, but I would like to see the extent of the damage that the house has. And then I try to figure out how much will it be to get it to livable condition. Sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to do that. If there's a big, huge hole in the floor, then, you would have to get someone out to come out and figure out how much it will cost to get that hole repaired. Same thing with a hole being in the roof or walls or anything like that. But the structure of the home should be in good condition. The structure of the home should always be in good condition. So when I'm giving you these prices like 100K on this house here, I'm assuming that it's in livable condition. Live in condition. So you have to, you do have to know that, what I'm saying, they have to be in livable condition. But with the spread here, bro, is 150. Okay. When you have this type of spread, man, this is what you want to look for. You want to look for houses that have a big, huge, healthy spread in them. That takes all the guesswork out of it, and especially if this is a livable condition house. And if it's not a livable condition house the day of you seeing it, if it doesn't take that much money to get it to livable condition, then you also want to take a chance. That I call those types of houses taking a chance on those houses. You got to be willing to take risks in this business as well. You don't want to take a risk with your life, but you don't want to risk being sued or doing some kind of malpractice of some sort. You don't want to do that. But you do want to take some risks, for instance, in this case, if this house was not in livable condition, let's just say that it had a hole in the floor and there were some holes in the walls or whatever, and each of these things will cost $5,000 to get repaired. And maybe it needs maybe it needs an AC unit, you know what I mean? Because these window units, I hate the window units, bro. I think you should, I do not think you should be, you should be that cheap when it comes to the AC. So maybe it needs an AC unit. Maybe it needs a new roof. You know what I mean? And these things, after they're taken care of, they can get the house, they can get this house to livable condition. So you do have to have some experience, man. You have to have some experience in this to really do it properly. I guess what I'm trying to teach is kind of unteachable in a sense. I'm trying to put this stuff into into simple terms. But I realized, like with that video I put out yesterday, it's really simple to me. It's really simple to me because I'm assuming a lot. And see, you as a beginner, you're not assuming a lot of nothing. You're just taking what we tell you, and then you're just going out there and doing what you need to do. Um, you need to be a bird dogger. If you don't know in the beginning, in my course, I always teach that. That's what I'm teaching all the time. It's being a bird dogger first. That's step one, is to be a bird dogger. A bird dogger is someone who just finds houses for cash buyers. And I mean, you're not like working for them, but you're finding great deals out there. You're going out there and you're finding deals. That's what my course, you can learn it in my courses in the description. As a bird dogger, you go out there and you find great deals and you hand them off to cash buyers. You don't negotiate anything like that. You just give it to the cash buyers. And I also teach how to find cash buyers in my course as well. But you do that for a couple years. You do that for at least 2 or 3 years, depending on how fast you catch on and how much time you have to do that. But you do that for some years, and then you start learning what deals look like. And what I mean by what deals look like you understand, like I do, that when you are looking at a healthy spread, that means that you're valuing a house that is in livable condition or almost in livable condition. Like in this example here, if it needs flooring and then walls, you know what I'm saying, or in an AC unit, and I think this was the roof. If it needs all this stuff to get it to livable condition, this is not like flipping it and making it pretty. This is just getting it to the point to where you can put a renter in there. To getting it to that, that's $28,000 that you'll have to spend to get it to livable condition. So 28,000, you would subtract this from your figure here, your spread there. I wonder how this works. Get that out of here. So you would this is the price of the house. Sorry. So this is your spread. So you subtract this 28,000 from your spread here, and that's 221, right? Yeah, 8, 10, 5. Yeah. So $122,000 would be your new spread now. And then, you also, now you got room. So it's in livable condition at this price, at this valuation. This is the equity in there, the spread. It's in livable condition there. Now you can rent it out if you plan on renting it, or a cash buyer could. And if they want to flip it, they still got a lot of room here. And also there's some room here for your assignment fee or finder's fee or assignment if you're wholesaling it. There's some room here. So you can get you 10K out of here, or 5K, or whatever, 15K, if you can justify making 15K. So like I said in the beginning, when you are trying to figure out the value of a property, go to Zillow and use their neighborhood tool. Use their neighborhood tool. It's the box that shows the properties in a neighborhood like this, and they're colored. Yellow means they have been sold. Red means they're for sale. If they have no color, then that means that they are not for sale. They're off market. You look at the yellow colored houses, the houses that are, highlighted in yellow or whatever. They have the prices attached to them, I believe. You're looking for the sold for houses, how much they sold for, and you just take an average. Some of these prices may be close, some of them may not be close, but you'll start to see a trending price range. Like I said before, my other example, this one may be 150, this one may be 120K, this one may be 200,000 because it's all fixed up. So this will be your ARV, after repair value, for flipper. You can also have an ARV for as is condition as well. But most people on the internet know ARV to be the price that you can get the house, the price that you would get the house, the price that the house would sell for when it's all fixed up, brand new everything. So that's the ARV right there. So this is 200,000, that's 120, 150. But see, look, it's these two numbers here are close. They're just a $30,000 difference between these two. So that means that, you know, in this neighborhood, it's safe to say if you had like, if you had more properties that were in this range here between these two, 150 and 120. If you saw more houses in this range, you could say that okay, houses in this house are selling for just really quickly. You could say, okay, these houses will sell for 130. If I get a house for if I try to sell a house in this neighborhood for 130, that's a good price. That's not an outrageous price to ask for. An outrageous price to ask for. That's not an outrageous price to ask for in this neighborhood. That's what you're trying to really figure out, is if the price that you're trying to value the house, your subject property, you're trying to make sure you're not coming up with a stupid price, like a price that's way too high. Mainly, because if it's way too low, then you want to get that one under contract. You want to get it under contract and flip it, right? So you're just trying to make sure that the price that you're trying to value your subject property at isn't outrageous. It's not a fool's price. Like you can't, like you would be a fool to say that you could sell a house in this neighborhood right here for $350,000. I don't care what's the square footage. I don't care about the square footage. You cannot, you wouldn't be able, unless it's you wouldn't be able to sell a house in this neighborhood for $350,000 unless something outrageous was, unless it had like, unless it had cabinets imported from Italy, or if it was like well designed. And then you would have to have a person that would be willing to stay in a neighborhood like this. This neighborhood better be a really good neighborhood for a person to come in and spend $350,000 on a house in this neighborhood. This neighborhood better be in really good shape. Because a person that's willing to spend $350,000 on a house will go to a neighborhood where they can buy a house for $350,000, and all the other houses in that neighborhood cost the same as well. They want to go to a $350,000 neighborhood, not a $130,000 neighborhood. They don't want to spend $350 in a $130,000 neighborhood. That's crazy. So you're just trying to figure out that your valuation is within reason. So you look at this and you're like, okay, so the average is around 130. This is the outlier. This is the ARV. This is what this is your ceiling. This is what houses are selling for in tip-top shape. But 130. This is what I go. I go by the as-is condition value. I value houses based on their as-is condition. The ARV, like what it would sell for in tip-top shape, that's just a bonus. I look at that though. I do look at that when the margins are slim. Like if houses in this neighborhood are selling for 130 in as-is condition, and if my seller wants $100,000 for their house, then I'm trying to look at different plays. I'm like, okay, well, let me look at the flipper ARV and see if I can find someone who is willing to flip this house, and put this much money into it to flip this house and sell it for this much. But I'm looking for as is condition. I'm ideally trying to move, ideally I want to buy this property. So I hope it's not for 100,000. I hope that this seller wants like 70,000 for this house, because then I would want to buy it or put it under contract as a wholesaler. I would wholesale this one, not bird dog it. I would wholesale this one. I would buy it as long as this house is in livable condition. I would wholesale it, so I would wholesale it to someone for $10,000. I would take that, and they will be in it at 80K, and then closing costs and what other fees they have. And then they have 130 minus 80. That's 13, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's 5. So they would have 50K in the house. You know what I'm saying? They would have 50K in the house. And they can do what they want. They can try to, sell it in tip-top shape and go for this $200,000 valuation here, or they can just rent it and have 50K in the house, and just start renting it. So I go for the as is condition. That's how I value the property. So I'm looking in a neighborhood and seeing at what price are houses selling for without being all the way fixed up. And if I find houses that are between 120 and 150 consistently in this neighborhood, then I make the generalization. I'm like, okay, well, houses in this neighborhood will sell between the houses in this neighborhood will sell around 130. That's a reasonable price for a as is condition house in this neighborhood. So that is how I value the property. I don't look at every little detail, what the subject property has and what the comparables have and what they don't have. I don't look at that. I just look at the numbers. And then from there, I just make sure that there's a big spread. If there's a big spread, then I don't need to try to calculate all the things that the house would need unless the house is not in livable condition. If it's not in livable condition, then I got to go in there and figure out how to get it to livable condition. And that's the minimum. That's like some flippers may call that a medium flip, or a not a medium flip, but like a quick flip, cosmetic work and all that. See, really cosmetic work is not livable condition type of work. That's getting it pretty. That's trying to sell it for like you flipping it. You know what I'm saying? That's it's cosmetic, right? It's just makeup, just putting makeup on it. I'm talking about getting it in livable condition, making sure that it has the things that it needs for a person to live in there that day. That's what I'm talking about. So I just make sure there's a big spread, man, bro. And it takes all the question, the guessing and all that out of these houses, trying to figure out, how much they worth and how much you can sell them for. But as a beginner, you want to bird dog. You want bird dog as a beginner, and then you'll learn all this. Of course, look at people like myself and other people and other investors online, because we have a lot to teach you, bro. And get the course. Buy our courses. I've always been one of those people who never wanted to buy a course. I never wanted to buy a course. But then I had to change that. I had to change that when I started. I had to change that philosophy when I started selling my course, because I realized from looking at other people, other creators out there, other people who have knowledge, and they're like, okay, I'm not going to give this knowledge out for free. Not every bit of it. I'm going to sell some of it. And making that decision to sell their knowledge is a great decision for them. Of course, they're making money and all that. But for you as the customer, you get to, because if a person is selling their knowledge, that means that they know something that everyone else doesn't know. Or that means that they know something, they're trying to teach you something that will work for you. You know what I mean? That will work for you. And you need to get this information. And the only way a person will want to give it to you is if you pay for it. That's how valuable they see that information being. And that's how I feel about my course. It's valuable. It's really valuable because it's not going to make you 10K next month. It could, because in this business, you're a hunter in this business. You are hunting for properties. So it depends on how much time you got and how much ambition you have. That is what matters. That is the difference between making 10K next month and making 10K next year. So the course is the tool. That's the tool you need. So you got the hammer and the nail. Now, how fast you build the house is up to you. How much time you got and how persistent you are. But I'm giving you the tools in the course, and I want you to pay for it. I want you to pay for it because I don't want everyone to have this information. There needs to be a barrier there. There needs to be a barrier. I don't want everyone coming into this club. I want to have certain people to have this information. I don't want to give it out, because if I wanted everyone to just know about it, I would just give it out for free. But I want people to pay for it, and you want to pay for it. You want to pay for it, not only to put money in my pocket, because I don't care. You want to pay for it because it will make you take it seriously when you pay for something. And my course is only $25. And it's 14 lessons, and they're video lessons. And also I have a guidebook that you can use to follow along with the lessons. So you can really, really get what I'm trying to teach you in your brain. And listen, my course is not chaotic like what I do on my iPad, on these whiteboard videos. It's not this chaotic, I promise you. It's more straightforward. But it's teaching you how to find properties, and then how also to find cash buyers as well. And then it also gives you some of my experience in there. I'm talking like I'm talking now in some of the videos, and you get to get some of my experience and my reasoning for why I do certain things. And I'm going to create another course as well. I'm going to create more because I have more techniques that I'm using now that are really getting me sellers call. They're really getting sellers calling my phone, and getting in contact with me. And that's what you want. You want more flow of sellers coming in. You want to be talking to a lot of sellers. That's how you start closing on more deals. Like for myself, and like I said at the beginning of the video, I invest like Warren Buffett. Like I don't take a swing on a house unless there's a big spread there. So, I miss out on deals all the time. I'm missing out on a deal right now. There's a guy, a landlord here who contacted me a couple days ago, and I did a video of the walkthrough of his house on my channel. And I walked through his house and I filmed it, and I made a video on it on my YouTube channel. And his house can be flipped. It can be flipped. I don't know how, I don't know really what he wants for it, because he's trying to shop around for prices. So he doesn't have a price in mind. He's trying to get people to give him prices. But it's obvious that he doesn't want a crazy high price, because he knows that the house needs work. But that house, I passed on it. I'm going to pass on it. I haven't called him. I called him the other day and told him that I was going to pass on it, but I was going to see if I could bird dog it to another investor I know. But this other investor I know, he hasn't contacted me yet to say if he wanted to buy the house or not. I told him about it, but he said he was going to contact me when he got back from out of town, but I haven't heard from him. So I'm going to call the seller back and officially pass on it. But that's a deal that someone will be able to make money on. Not me though, because I'm looking for something. I want the seller to give me a price. I want everything to be cut and dry. I don't want to play these games. I don't have time for it. I can move on. I like to use my time wisely. I can be spending my time instead of trying to negotiate with this guy. Sometimes I negotiate with sellers for years, but like with this guy, I may call him later, I may call him later in a couple months or next year or something and see if anything changed on price. But for right now, I don't have time to like try to get a price out of him right now. I'll wait, I'll wait. I'll let the next buyer come through and take it off his hands, and I can miss the money on it. That's fine. I'm gonna make more down the line anyway. But I want all this stuff to be easy. I want everything to be easy. Not everything is easy, but I like for everything to be easy. I love how Warren Buffett puts it. He only takes swings at pitches that he can hit. And I love that philosophy, because I do the same thing. Some people I know say that I miss out on a lot of money because I have books of properties that I have looked at over the years, and I have more than this. But I have these books that are filled with deals. There's 80 pages in each of these books, front and back. I can open up one and show you. So not every one of the backs is filled up, but there's a lot of properties that I go through here. There's a lot of properties that I see, but so these are hundreds of properties that I have looked at and hundreds of sellers that I have spoken to, but I've only wholesaled or bird dog about 30 deals in 9 years. Only 30 deals, only 30. I've only wholesaled and bird dogged 30 deals in 9 years. I've been doing this part-time. That's no excuse really. But I've been doing this part-time, and I really like to say that I do it at my leisure. I just do it because I love to do it. I don't know why I love to do it. I just love to do it. I just do it because it's a hunting. I like puzzles, and I like to hunt. Not in real life. I've never hunted in real life. But I like to hunt for money. I like to hunt for money, and this allows me to hunt for whales. I call these deals whales. When I find a big spread, I'm like, man, that's a whale. You know what I mean? So I like to hunt for them, and it's kind of like a game. So I just do it, and but I look for properties with big spreads. I look for pitches that I can hit. I wait. I can just wait. Like with this property I'm going to pass on today, someone is going to make money off of this house, and I'm going to miss out. And this has happened to me numerous times throughout the years, because on some of the deals that I have seen, that I have, in my books, there's a deal that I may have run across, and then I'll talk to another investor later on down the line, and he'll be like, "Oh man, I bought that property and I made $50,000 on it," and I was like, "Wow, I passed on it." You know what I mean? The numbers weren't right for me at the time, and then maybe I just stop talking to the seller, because sometimes if a seller is not really friendly, I won't bug them. I have certain rules with that as well. I'm not going to bug a person. I'm not going to bug you. I'm not going to be salesy. I get right to the point. How much do you want? You want 60? Okay, I can pay 50. What do you want to do? Do you want to take 50 or not? Not okay. Well, then I'll call you back if anything changes, and you do the same. So I make everything easy. So I invest like Warren Buffett does. My 30 deals that I have made money on, I made solid amounts on all of those. I made healthy margins on all of those. I mean, looking back in hindsight, like now, sometimes I say, "Oh man, I could have made more. I could have made more money on that deal. I could have made more money on that deal." Looking back in hindsight, yeah. But I made solid amounts, man. I didn't have to, I never lost any money. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never had to pay out money into the negative in real estate. I'll say that. I never went into the negative yet. Who knows? But with my principles and my philosophy, it'll be rare for me to go into the negative unless something catastrophic happens. But I like the way I invest, man. I like the way I invest. I have yet to buy a property yet, but I am ready now. I'm ready to buy a property now, but I'm only looking for something that's a great deal. Only looking for stuff that has a big spread on it. And the reason why I'm sticking to that is because over the years, there have been, out of the hundreds of deals that I have done, about half of my wholesale deals, probably about 7 or 8 of them, because I bird dog. I probably bird dogged half of the 30 deals that I've done, made money on. I probably bird dog half of those, and then I've wholesaled half of those, the other half. So 15 bird dog. I bird dog 15 properties and wholesale 15 properties. But of the ones that I wholesaled, I believe 7 of those, half of the ones I wholesale, 7 of those have been like excellent deals that had big giant spreads, deals that were just obvious deals. And most of my 30 deals were obvious deals, but there have been like this 7 or 8 deals, excuse me, that have been like really good deals. And those are the deals that I know that are out there. And those are the ones that I'm looking for all the time. Those are the ones that I want to buy for myself. Those deals where, one time I got a house under contract for $50,000, and the house was worth $180,000 after it was all fixed up. So in that neighborhood, there were other houses selling in that neighborhood for like $180,000, and they had all the bells and whistles. I found a house in that neighborhood for $50,000. I got that house on the contract for 50K, and I got that house on the contract as soon as I looked up the ARV. I looked up the ARV. I did like a quick lookup of it. I was on the phone with the seller at the same time, and I looked online to see how much it was worth. And I found 1 or 2 houses. One of the houses was selling for like 130,000. I think it was in like as is condition. But there was another house selling for 180 something, like 186. and it was in pristine condition. I was like, damn. I was like, the ARV alone is 180 something $1,000, and they were very similar. They were very similar. The only problem with this house that I got on under contract for 50 is that it wasn't in livable condition. Or was it? I think it was in livable condition. It was just so junky. The guy was a hoarder, and it was just so junky. I guess technically it wasn't in livable condition. It needed to be cleaned out. It needed to be cleaned out. And if it was cleaned out, because I didn't see any damages really, like I didn't see any major damages, any holes in the walls or mold or anything like that. The electrical system, maybe it needed to be redone. I think the plumbing was okay. We ran a couple faucets. Oh, we ran the water in there, in the bathrooms and in the kitchen. Me and my partner did. The guy that I wholesaled the house to, he went with me to see the house, and the plumbing was good, and the roof was okay. It was in okay condition, but it was in, minus those things. It was in livable condition. So that $50,000 price that I got it on the contract for, and that spread of 180. I mean, that spread of what is that? I gotta do a video about this property. I'll do that next. So 180, and I got it for 50. So that's three. That $130,000 spread there. Now, in as is condition, I think it was 120 that house was selling for instead of 130. Now, in as is condition, it was, that's 12. What is that? 70K? Yeah, because that's 7. Yeah, 12. Yeah. So that was in as is condition. There was a $70,000 spread there, bro. That was just sexy. That was sexy, bro. Like this property, this was one of my home run properties right here. Like, if I could go back in time and jump into my, I mean, if I could take everything I have right now, my knowledge, my money that I have right now, and go back into myself during this time when I found this deal, and it was in a C neighborhood. It was an okay neighborhood, bro. It was an okay neighborhood, somewhere where you would probably, somewhere you wouldn't mind renting a property. You know, it wasn't surrounded. It wasn't in an area that was just riddled with crime. There wasn't bad people living there. Everyone was kind of like fixing up their properties, and the yards were in good shape, and it wasn't a bad area. It wasn't a bad area, bro. There wasn't too many cars parked on the street on all sides. You know what I mean? There was enough room for people to, that means that it was just, because there weren't so many cars parked all along the street, that means that the neighborhood was a quiet neighborhood. There wasn't that many people living there. It was just people and their families. You know, it probably was it is an older neighborhood. I think the year built range in this neighborhood was 170. I mean, not 70, but 1970. So the year built range was like 1970s, 1980s. So it was, people in this neighborhood were in their 60s and 70s. You know what I mean? And they were just quiet. It was a quiet neighborhood. It was a nice neighborhood. So, bro, this was a steal of a deal for the guy I wholesaled this house to. He sold it. I probably would have kept it. I probably would have, if, looking back in hindsight, I would have kept this property and rented it. I would have added it to my rental portfolio. And man, look how much money you got in it if you would have kept it, minus the minus the repairs that were needed to get it in livable condition. Maybe it was 20. Maybe it was 20,000. So 100K. I mean, still, this is a great deal, because a house in this neighborhood, I think the houses in that neighborhood right now, they're renting for $1,600 a month. Rent in that neighborhood. Come on, talk about a 1%, the 1% rule. You killing it. 1,600. That means you would have to buy the house all in for 160 to get a 1% return. Come on, bro. You got 130 in it. You bought it for 50. You put 20 in it. That means you all in for 70. Closing costs and all that, 70 something, 75. That means you in it for 75. So you getting 1,600 on $75,000. You crazy, you killing it, bro. Even at 70, even at this 70K, even having this 70K in equity, you know what I mean? You still killing it in rent. $1,600 a month. That's what? 1,600 times 12? 1 3 0 0 6 1 1 3 2 0 0 0, right? Oh wait, hold on. Yeah, that ain't right. $13,000 a year. So 13K a year on 75K. Right? If it was this scenario, if you bought it for 50, put 20 in it, 70K. I mean, bro, what's that? Let me see what that is. 13K on 70K. I mean, okay, so for cap X and all that, let me make sure this is right. 0 0. Okay, 2. Oh no, I'm wrong here. Wait, am I? Let's see, 12 1 0 0 6. I'm wrong. This is not right. This is 1,9,200. This is wrong. This is 19,000 on 75K. 19,000 on 75K. Oh yeah, and also, so for cap X and all that, so let's just say you keep, so out of 19,000, let's say you keep 60,000, 60% of that. So 11,000. So $11,000. 11,000. Okay, what's going on up here? So I don't want to go to another sheet. Let's do it right here. 11,000 on 75K. What is that percentage? Divided by 75K. 14% return? I mean, that's good. That's good. So a 14% return on your money. If you pay cash, now if you didn't pay cash, it'll be double that. But you pay cash for it, 75, you're getting 11,000 on your 75. Yeah. I mean, you're really getting more than that, but you have to account for vacancies and everything else. So we had to take 60% of this number. So it was 11,000. So it's smart to do that. You have to calculate, capital expenditure. Oh God, I can't even say it. But you have to calculate money that you have to spend on the house in order to, in case something comes up, like if a tenant calls you and tells you that, there's a hole in the wall or whatever, you got to come patch that up. And if a tenant says that they need a new refrigerator, or they need this done or this done and this done, you got to get that stuff done. And then also you have to pay for the handyman to come out there and pest control and all of that crap. You know what I mean? Or you can get the tenant to pay for these things, but you have to work that into your contract. But a 14% return, bro, on your money. I mean, compare that to anything else, and you're winning. The stock market, on average, it'll give you a 10% return on your money. This is cool. This is cool. And then also in this cap X right here, I mean, in that 40% that we subtracted out of this 19,000, That's also, you also can put your management fees in that as well. So if you got a property manager here, this is passive. So you're getting this 14% passively. Now this is houses, and you know, houses will give you the least amount of rental income, unless they're Airbnb or something like that. Then they're kind of like acting as income producing property. Well, they're all income producing properties, but they're acting like commercial property. But ideally, you want to buy and rent commercial property. That's what you want to get to. But in the meantime, if you want to cross a deal like this, why not buy it? Why not buy it? You don't have to be these types of investors who say I only buy houses or I only buy commercial property. You need a mix. You need a mix. You need an eclectic portfolio that has all of these things in it. You know what I'm saying? Just how with investing in general, you need to have stocks, bonds, CDs, and real estate, all of these different things, cash, all these different things. Because if one of them goes up or one of them goes down, the other one goes up while the other one is down, or the other one is down while the other one is up. You need to diversify in that respect. So why not have some houses? Because houses are more stable. They're more stable than commercial because commercial has businesses in them, but the commercial properties will pay you more than a house will per square foot. You know what I mean? So why not have different ones? I'm not thinking like these other people are thinking, like I only buy houses, I only buy apartment buildings. I'm buying whatever the hell that's in front of me that's a great deal. I don't care what it is. I don't care. It's good to have a mix. It's good to have a mix. So I'm buying whatever it is. So you getting this 14% passively if you have the management fees calculated in this in that 40% that we subtracted from this 19,000 in gross that you're getting from the rent from this house. But look at this. You also got the 14% coming in, but you also have this 130,000. Now, if you just wanted to do it, if you just wanted to get it in livable condition, you got, okay, it's actually 100,000 because we subtracted this 20 for the repairs out of that. So you got 100,000 and then 20 subtracted from this. So you got 50K here. But look, you got 50K in this property. You got 50K. So if you calculate that, you got 50K in it. You spent 75. You got 50K. You got 50K plus the 11K you got coming in. So, bro, you got $61,000 that you have gained in equity and in rental income for the first year on $75,000. That's an 80 something percent return. You know what I mean? People be tripping me out when they be trying to figure out how to make money in real estate. Oh, shoot. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, people trip me out, bro, when they try to figure out how, people be like, man, real estate doesn't make you any money, and I ain't even went into the tax aspects of real estate of this whole thing. I haven't even went through the tax, bro. 81% return. Keep this thing for a year and a day so you can pay long-term capital gains tax. 15% capital gain, long-term capital gains tax. If you sell it, after that year passes. Don't sell it. Keep it. Keep a great deal. Keep all your great deals. But 81% return in the first year, bro. Bro, this is making money. This is printing money. You know what I mean? But whatever. That's all for today. I'll see you next time.